final presentation before lunch will be Bruce Maluish, who is Managing Director of VRX Silica, and that is the VRX Silica Sands project. Please welcome Bruce.
Thank you, Chris. I'll talk to you a little bit about VRX Silica, but also I'll talk to you a little bit about the silica market. It's not well understood, and what you find is with silica sand, just a subtle difference in the type of sand you've got will determine which market it goes into, and there are literally hundreds of markets. This is an interesting quote because the world produces or uses about 50 billion tonnes of silica sand a year. 49.5 billion goes into concrete. So this comment here that sand is the main material that modern cities are made of, it generally refers to concrete, but also glass. And it's one of these products that you don't think about, but you're surrounded by it all the time. In your home, windows, paint, tube lighting, bench tops, LEDs, mirrors, fiberglass bath, your TV, laptops, phones, monitors, LCDs, building cladding, plastics, insulation in the roof, your containers in the fridge, all contain silica sand and all of different types of qualities. Unfortunately, none of them are made in Australia. But in your car, the glass, you're surrounded by the glass there. Nobody looks out the windscreen and thinks, oh, 75% silica sand. So, and you know, maybe a sunroof, electric cars. Doesn't matter if it's electric or internal combustion, same amount of glass in it. The headlamps, LED lights, LCD displays, the paint on the outside. You notice the paint these days on Mazdas? Have a look at it closely. It's all super shiny. It's actually got more silica flour in it. And it's a fantastic product. It lasts almost forever. Tyres, silicon rubber tyres. The silica bit is from silica sand. Casting moulds for heads, blocks and manifolds are all made out of silica sand. And when you start talking about renewables, solar panels, the top piece of glass is actually a very high-tech glass. I'll talk about that a bit. But there's also a backing plate to it, which sometimes is silica carbide, but it's often a piece of cheaper glass. Thermal insulation in lithium industrial batteries. In between the battery packs, they have a silica sponge. And it's the insulation because lithium batteries, unfortunately, do regularly catch fire. And all it does is slow the fire up. But there's thermal protection in big industrial batteries. High tensile fiberglass yarn. It's a special yarn. There's only about 3 companies in the whole world that make this particular yarn. And you can make a fiberglass that is damn near bulletproof, but in fact it's the covering on wind turbine blades. When the blades are whipping around, the tip of it's doing about 100 miles an hour. When it whacks a little dicky bird, you don't need the bird poking a hole in your wind turbine blade. And so it's a growing market, and there are so few companies around that produce this high tensile yarn. But 50 billion tonnes a year, you know, iron ore pales in comparison. So it's a staggering amount of sand that is used every year. So much so, in our case, Asia is running out of sand. Now, when you think sand, forget deserts. That little orangey red colour you get in desert sands, that's iron. Iron is the enemy when it comes to making concrete because you need an inert sand, and it's certainly the enemy when it comes to making glass. Beach sands, forget them as well. They're predominantly calcium carbonate. It's shell grit. So that's not suitable as well. You take deserts out, you take beaches out, what are you left with? Not a lot of sand. So you need granite-based sands. Now, it's a finite resource for one, but it's also getting increasingly difficult to access. The bulk of the high-quality silica sand in Asia is dredged from freshwater rivers and lakes. Obviously not sustainable, and they are slowly not only depleting their known resources, but they're losing access to other resources. Australia's got plenty of sand, and we certainly have a lot. So it's not just Asia that's running out of sand. All of the whole world's running out of sand. good quality sand. So we've got a fair bit. We're really aiming for the plate glass and container glass industry in Asia. At the moment, we're predominantly dealing with companies in Korea, Japan, Malaysia, Philippines, Taiwan, and a little bit in Indonesia. Notice I didn't mention China. But China is the largest manufacturer of glass in the world. 46% of the world's glass comes from China. We've got 5 glass factories in Australia, 270 in China. But we don't need to go to China. Korea and Japan will eat up everything we've got. So we're a WA company. All of our prospects are in Western Australia. We've easily got the most advanced non-private or listed company silica sand projects in Australia. We've got 5 very large projects. They total more than 1.4 billion tonnes. We don't need to find any more sand. What we need to do is start exporting them. 3 of them are in the Midwest around Arrowsmith, sits between Eneabba and Dongara. We have one at Maluish, just north of Perth, very high quality and a very large deposit. We barely scratched the surface of that one. And we have another one east of Esperance. Each of these projects are subtly different sand, and they'll each go into different markets, so they're not competing with each other. It's simple mining, simple processing, no toxic chemicals involved in it. It's washing, screening, and really digging it up and exporting it is the key. We've got railway lines. These sites were selected for 3 criteria. Number 1, it had to be granite sands. So all these sands have eroded from the Darling Scarp. So from the Darling Scarp, the geomorphology is the same from Bunbury to Geraldton. You have the Darling Scarp. At the base of the scarp, which is a very turbulent zone, you tend to have mineral sands. Then you have lake systems, then a dune system. Right underneath this hotel is the dune system. Then you get lakes again, Lake Mungar, that type of thing. And then you got coastal dunes and limestone. That geomorphology is the same. So it's this dune system you want to be on. This is the dune system we are on. But all of our land is on unallocated Crown land, previously known as vacant Crown land. So we only have 2 stakeholders, the state, which is the EPA, and native title holders. So we've got agreements in place with all native title holders, and now we're dealing with the state. These are very big projects. They'll last for 100 years. And therein lies a bit of the problem, because when we're seeking EPA approval, we're looking for very long life projects. Nothing like this has been done before in Western Australia, particularly in the Swan Plain of this scale. There are some other sand projects, but not of this sort of scale. Leading our projects is Arrowsmith North, which sits up between Dongara and Eneabba. This is a bit difficult to see, but they've all got over, the first 2 projects have got 200 million tonnes each in reserve. So if you talk resources, there's sort of hundreds of millions of tonnes. And we've been very selective about what we're looking to mine from the point of view of getting the highest quality sand, but the lowest environmental impact. So Arrowsmith North, this is our leading project. We've grade controlled 6 years of production. It's got reserves of 200 million tonnes, good for 100 years. Can produce 99.7% silica dioxide, suitable for flat glass, automobile glass, container glass. We've completed the drilling, reserve estimates, process circuit design, metallurgy, process circuit design, and engineering all the way up to fabrication drawings. This project's ready to go, subject to EPA approval. It has an unused railway line from Eneabba to Geraldton with access to Geraldton Port. We've already drilled the water bore. We're accessing the Arrowgidee, which is down about 350 metres. It's next door to Brand Highway. And we're looking, the power supply, at the moment, we're looking at maybe putting a power station at the Bahara Springs gas well. So we'll get gas directly from the wellhead after it's dewatered, before it's compressed. So no transport cost on gas. It's the cheapest power solution you could possibly get in Western Australia. The bush here is, it's called Quangan Heath. It's about waist high. It's predominantly Banksia. But most important, that's actually the top of a dune that is 4 kilometres wide and 12 kilometres long and 8 metres deep. It looks nice and flat, but in fact it is the top of a dune. So we're not digging a pit, we're knocking the top off a sand dune, and we've developed a unique rehabilitation process because these plants only have a root system that goes down 200-300 mil. So we come along and take a 400 mil deep sod and remove material, remove the topsoil and the plants growing in it, and put it directly back behind us, direct transfer to behind us. And it's done with a modified bucket on a front end loader. It's a very simple system, but it easily has the best rehabilitation outcomes that you can get if you're going to be mining in this type of countryside. So the biggest hurdle here by far is environmental approvals. We just recently finished a public review period for our environmental review document, which is the last document we lodge. That review period closed in July. Just last week we received comments on those submissions back from the EPA. We will respond to those submissions, and over the next month or so we should go close to getting environmental approval for this project towards the end of this year, probably with Christmas in there, probably early next year. So once we get approval, we're ready to hit the ground running. Arrowsmith Central is nearby. That's actually at the second stage of the approvals. We actually lodged the document June last year. We're still waiting on a response to that. The EPA have said they can only look at one project at a time. Arrowsmith Brand is a relatively new project. These are all within the same area. It's about 270 k's north of Perth. It has all the same infrastructure around it. And it's very, very large, but this is really a strategic holding for us at the moment. We have no immediate plans. It's a good holding. Maluish is a whole new ballgame. It sits only 50 k's north of Perth. It's very high grade, and this grade of this sand is suitable to make ultra pure or high purity glass, and that's a piece of glass that goes over solar panels, and that's a market that is growing at 30% per year. This product is in high demand. However, a lot of the attributes of Arrowsmith North will apply to this. So every study that we've done at Arrowsmith North, we've repeated here at Maluish. And it's similar, but it's got taller trees in there, but it's the recalcitrant species of low grasses and sedges that are suitable for VDT. Simple processing. The key to it is actually attritioning, where you've got an agitated slurry where you are getting sand grains, rubbing on sand grains, that polishes the grains, and you get a higher quality product. Processing, it's a small footprint. We take our ESG responsibilities very seriously, but we also think that the ideal time to deal with these types of issues are at the planning stage. So we're spending a lot of time on this now, and have been for a while. And we've got some very good outcomes there. Australia is the largest exporter of silica sand in the world, but they're all privately owned. Cape Flattery in northern Queensland is owned by Mitsubishi. It's been operating for 50 years. It does about 2.5 up to 3 million tonnes a year. It's unknown. People are not aware. They generally are exporting to companies affiliated with Mitsubishi, but they aren't aware it's there. The other companies in Western Australia, once again, they're all privately owned, so people are unaware that it's happening. Asia has banned exports of silica sand because they're worried about their own domestic supply. So Australia's in a good position. We've got a number of other initiatives, particularly we got published in the Critical Minerals Prospectus last year. We have a grant from the state government as well to produce silica flour. We've recently been granted a geothermal energy project that has the potential to produce hydrogen, and you can produce glass using hydrogen. The board, you can have a look at that, but all very experienced board. Corporately, we got about 570 million shares out there. We're in the middle of a share purchase plan. We just completed a placement, got about $4 million in the bank. Really, this is being in the right time, right place, right commodity. So we've got very long life sand supplies. We've got WA domestic gas reserves. So there's potential here for glass making here in Western Australia. These are very, very long-term projects, and it's got potential to start feeding into the high-tech, ultra-clear glass and solar panel market. Thank you very much. Got time for questions?
Yeah, we have got
Shoot.
time for questions, yeah. Is there a microphone? Just so everyone else can hear the
Just
question.
yell out.
Oh, so everyone else can hear them.
Thank you. Thanks, Bruce. Seems very exciting. Is the Arrowsmith North being first cab off the rank, potentially, is the intention to either rail or road the bulk product to Geraldton for export?
Ultimately, rail.
Right.
We're working on a solution at the moment. The issue is not loading the train or using the train, it's unloading it at Geraldton Port. But we're working on a solution for that now. It'll probably take 2 years, so expect to be trucking out of there for probably 2 years and then train.
Okay. And refresh my mind now, what volumes planned per year for export?
First couple of years, about 1 million tonne a year, but we'll ramp that up to 2 million tonnes a year.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. Cheers.
All right. Thanks, Chris.